I got it.
There you go. You're on.
Yeah, it's all done.
Cool.
Yeah, I got it.
Recording.
Yeah, it says I'm recording now.
Yeah. Excellent. Has everybody met Tim before? Does everybody know who Tim is?
I have not met Tim. Hi, Tim.
Cool.
I just survived your
How you doing, Jeannie? All
Halloween bash.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Hello, everyone. How are you? Lovely to meet you. So I'm a bit half-mast at the moment in terms of my energy levels because we just went and had like a massive roast dinner as well in the local pub just to recover from last night. In case you don't know, it was our annual Halloween bash. So the Ashes were there drinking soft drinks like heroes, and I was not drinking soft drinks. So, I thought I'd be recovered by now, but I think most of my energy is now going to digesting my roast dinner. I've slowed down again from that moment on. Anyway, that's enough of that. But where are we? Can I find out, Shannon? Can I find out who's? How many are we then? How many are we all on board?
Yes, we've got besides me, we've got Mike, Melissa, Regina. We have Janice.
Oh.
There's 4, and then possibly Aaron, right, Regina? We'll find out when Aaron's thing is. And I want to talk to Dave. I think this would be so good for Dave to do, Regina's husband, because he would be great at this. Because he's such a people guy. And then I've got serious messages out to 3 people who are very interested in getting this recording.
Right.
But most of them are at church right now, so.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sunday. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all right. They'll,
I'm so sorry. This was literally the only day I think we could get in where I had time to do it. So apologies for it being a Sunday.
That's okay.
But I just wanted to most everyone really.
That's okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So we are. What does that make us then? 5, possibly 6. Yeah. Okay. So this is the thing, because we got to get the numbers so that we can do it. This is we want to really make it worthwhile for us 3 to come over and train the first United States control practitioners, which is like tremendously exciting for me personally, but and hopefully you guys as well to be part of that group. But yeah, we just need to get the final numbers in so that we can make it happen, because obviously there's a minimum amount I think we need to actually make it happen,
Right.
But it would be good if we could do that. It'd be awesome, In terms, what do you need to know from me, guys? Because I can tell you a bit about the training. I'm sure Barry and Baz and Oz have already told you about the training in terms of when you signed up, what it entails and everything. And we're doing it kind of different this time as well, to make it possible to do it in one hit rather than, because we normally train 2 weekends a month apart and give you guys a month practicing the techniques to do the second weekend. So to make it possible, we're super intensifying what we're doing, which is why we're doing 2 3-day weekends rather than 2 2-day weekends. So there's going to be a old chunk more content in terms of what we're teaching, and then it might be a case of in that week between the first and the second weekend, we get you guys practicing quite intensely. And that's why I think we're offering a kind of a clinic day to come in and get questions answered and try anything that you're still not comfortable with, so that by the time we get to the second weekend, we're smashing it and we can work fast in the second set of 3 days.
So for me, Tim, so our numbers aren't where they need to be, and Shannon's going to share this with other people. So what would your elevator pitch be? What would your, hey, this is what we're about. How do we get people excited? We all know it's unbelievable, life-changing, and incredible to help your family, your friends,
Absolutely.
People you don't yet know, all that good stuff, but tag you're it.
Let me tell you what it is in its purest form. The control system is a method of controlling your own patterns of thought, patterns of behavior. That's where it comes from. So its origins come from me working as a hypnotist or hypnotherapist, whichever term you want to prefer to use, working with clients over 7 years, 1-to-1. And because I started to work a little bit different in terms of taking the trance aspect out of the hypnosis. So kind of taking out what people recognize as hypnosis and just doing the direct communication with your own subconscious, realizing that because you're not drifting off to a happy hypno land or somewhere else, or you're not checking out the game, you're consciously aware, eyes open all times. What I then started to realize was that surely then you can do this for yourself rather than having to have somebody like myself facilitating. So that's what the control system was born out of, was that idea of what steps do we need to take to make the changes for ourselves, you know. And granted, every time we make a change, we might go heavy on one step and skip another step. But if we hit all 7 steps and we do them correctly, we will make the change in our pattern of thinking. It's as simple as that. So that's where it came from. And then I started to teach the workshops that Baz and Loz taught you guys when they came over. The one-day workshop, how to do it for yourself, the simple techniques, how to get changes. Then what happened was people started to ask for more in terms of wanting to go on to help other people using this system. And that's when the practitioner training was born, just out of requests from people not necessarily wanting to become practitioners, although some of them were already mental health practitioners or complementary therapists, things like that. But really people just wanted to have the tools to be able to do this stuff. Some of them were incorporating it into their existing business, which was kind of far removed from therapeutic approaches. It was like a coaching business, or it might have been in a training business, or just business services, business coaching. So for example, the Ashes, you know, at their core, they're personal trainers, but recognizing the importance of mindset and how all of that stuff works, they're now bringing control into what they're doing as this key element of what they offer to their clients. So it is at its core a change work method that requires no trance or language patterns, none of the complicated stuff that you kind of, that is the fluff around all of this stuff. It doesn't involve traumatizing anyone. It doesn't involve revivifying any emotions or re-experiencing any trauma, and simply is a strategy for moving on and changing the way you respond in any given situation. So I think that's, yeah, in a nutshell, that's sort of what it is. I think it's, if you were going to say what's its USP, what's the thing that's different, say, to your common or garden hypnotherapy training, it would definitely be the ability to apply it to yourself and the fact that there is zero trance work involved. So there's no managing of state involved, zero language patterns, no scripts you need to learn. It is simply direct communication with the subconscious of the person you're working with, whether that's yourself or the client that's in front of you, or even, as you're saying, friend or family that you want to help. So I think for me, it takes all the important stuff that works and puts it into its simplest form and the neatest package we can, so that we can help the person in front of us no matter what they've been through. Yeah?
It's amazing.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes great sense. I'm stunned at the impact, the ease with which, I haven't done it every day or anything like that, and boom, you can just pull it back up.
Yeah.
Routine, you know, it's difficult for me to effectively explain it to people. And, so I'm working on that.
Yeah.
You know, because you're like, well, I did this and now my life is altered in such a positive way. There's so much more control that I have over, you know, what used to direct me that I wasn't aware was directing me.
I get that, yeah. This is the thing. I think all the time, we're very well aware of this rhetoric that is about you can't control what life throws at you, but you can control your own responses to it. And we talk about that, and we give that as a little mantra to ourselves in an attempt to empower ourselves. But what control is effectively is what you do to control the way you respond to these things, about how you actually, the technique you apply to make a hands-on change. And I think, you know, you're absolutely right when you point out, sometimes we might do it every day, you know, sometimes we might do it once in a blue moon. I think the interesting thing is everyone will apply it in the way that is important for them. and the way that works for them. So we've got practitioners who are doing daily checking-ins with their own subconscious, doing weekly stuff, or simply as soon as they come across a barrier they didn't know was there, which is how I use it. You know, if I hit a barrier in my own emotional responses that I didn't realize was there, I know I can work on it straight away. I know it's not something that's going to be there all the time because I know how to remove that barrier. The only thing I think that is important in terms of maintenance in this method is that you maintain a positive dialogue, that self-talk that's going on with you, that chat you do with your own mind. Maintaining that as a positive interaction means the next time you're going to call on yourself to do something amazing and change a response that you've had all your life, that bit is listening and working with you rather than a stranger or an enemy, which is where most of us start from. When we start this process, we've been talking to ourselves all our lives, but most of it's been negative. Most of it's been beating ourselves up or talking ourselves down just because of that daily way we go about the business, you know. But now we shift that rhetoric so that our self-talk now becomes empowering rather than disempowering. And control is how we manifest that, if you like, if we create a genuine direct link to that bit of us that we've been talking to all our lives, not realizing it was listening and could help us out if it was inclined to. Yeah. So yeah, I think how you use it for yourself though, I feel is just that starting point. It's, you know, it's one of those things where as soon as you realize you can get control of yourself, you make that next step. You're like, right, I want to tell everyone this. I want to show everyone else how to do it because it is so simple. You think, well, why isn't everyone doing this? Why doesn't everyone know this? And that's really my interest now, is in telling everyone how to do it. Because why wouldn't you want to know how to do it? It doesn't make any sense to me to go through living my life the way I was living my life before I was able to do this stuff, you know. And maybe that's the sort of feeling that you're getting now in terms of having just got this method, you know.
Can I just pitch in there quickly? Is that all right?
I'm surprised it's taking you so long, Loz.
Shut up.
To be honest, Laura, I thought your screen had frozen, love. I thought
So, Regina, when somebody asks me about control and what it is, I almost throw back the question to them sometimes. And I say to them, well, is there something you do, a behaviour or a thing that you really don't like doing that you'd like to change? And they're usually like, well, yeah, all the time. And I'm like, right, that's what control is. Okay. That part of you, which is the subconscious part, that's the part that we help you get in contact with directly to get communication to be able to change that. How cool is that? And they're like, okay, tell me more. And then it kind of opens up. But that's just sometimes the way that I kind of go about it, throw the question back at them.
Right. And then they're vested, they're in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way of putting it as well. Definitely. Yeah. I think that in terms of methodology as well, because I mean, I'm dealing with a lot of people who are coming from using other methods, like their counsellors or their psychotherapists or something like that. And what I'm hearing from them is that because it's such a, what we call it, a brief therapy, if you like. I think that's the term that the counsellors would use, because they're doing multiple sessions with, you know, when I say multiple, I mean dozens of sessions over sometimes years. And there is the idea in the counselling and psychotherapeutic fraternity where they say we look for a good brief therapy, where there's something that we just want to shift. And most of the brief therapies out there, what I hear is they're not tremendously effective from counselling viewpoint. They're not, because they're not really dealing directly with the subconscious in the way that we are. We are bypassing all of the gump, all of the rhetoric, all that sort of stuff, and just getting down to the bare bones of what needs to change, and let's find a better strategy for happiness.
That is yeah. That's
I think
important to tell someone. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult for me to speak of what I do in terms of, this is the thing I find hardest, to break it down in a nutshell what it is, so that people are just going to get it, because it's that thing where you're so close to it that it's just what you do. Yeah. And my journey from where I've come from in terms of starting out as your your straightforward hypnotherapist using trance, you know, sleep deeper and deeper, all that sort of stuff, and going to, you know, Hypnoland. I do it like this now because I like doing it this way. You know, I could sit here and the Ashes have heard me say this many times on trainings. I'm not saying my method is better than anyone else's. I'm not saying this is a better method, but I am saying it's the way I really like to work. And it's, you know, certainly it's faster and more effective than your counseling tools. I will, you know, I'll put me out in the ring there because I know the statistics for, you know, cognitive behavioral therapy and things like that. I know the stats are suggesting, you know, vaguely slightly more than 50% improve, you know, amount of people will get some improvement. And I know that control is, you know, if we had those stats, I'd stop doing it. I wouldn't be training it to people because I wouldn't consider it was effective enough to pass on to people. You know, I know that everyone that I see is going to experience an improvement in what's going on, a better degree of control over the way they feel, the way they think, the way they behave, and a better strategy for happiness going forward. And most of the time we will get that miracle moment where something changed that they didn't realize could shift, something about the way they respond, just the way they feel about a certain issue, and it's gone in a moment. And counsellors will be taking weeks, months, years to try and achieve that moment and still not achieve it, you know? So I think for me, it's that the personal control is one thing, but to have such an effective tool, you know, and it kind of like applies hypnosis without having to be hypnotist in terms of the hypnotherapy sort of approach. That's what I like about it. It doesn't, you know, we say this all the time, don't we, about is it hypnosis, is it not hypnosis? Who knows? I give up on trying to define it because it just is control. That's what it is, and that's the best way I think of relating to it, is to say this is its own entity, this is its own thing, and this is what we do.
And it's very empowering to the person that it's happening to, because it puts them in that position where they're like, oh, well, I can do this. This is all about me. So yeah.
And
absolutely.
I think also for control practitioners, I mean, for you, Tim, like, I think it's really important. Like, you know, some people might think, oh my gosh, I need to have like a psychology degree, or I need to be into sort of thing. But and you know, sometimes people can be a bit like, oh my gosh, that's a big responsibility. But in actual fact, you know, you don't need any experience. Just like you came straight into it from your old profession, and it's just understanding the system and how the mind works, and having that dialogue, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the thing. I don't think we confuse the work we're doing sometimes with, you know, some sort of psychotherapy, and it's not. It's simply finding a better strategy for happiness for the person in front of you. And to be honest, all you guys have got to be able to do is to be able to get a connection with somebody in terms of maintaining a positive conversation with them. That's the skill set, to be able to build rapport with the person in front of you. And it's a very basic skill that nearly every human being learns as they grow up into adulthood, and they can do. And some people are better at it than others. But it's not something that needs to be taught, because we've been studying it all our lives. And if we can do that, and we have the understanding of how to guide them towards a better strategy, that's all we need. You know, I'm not claiming to be a genius here. And if I needed to be a genius, then I wouldn't be doing it. Yeah, because it is breaking it down to simplest terms.
So you found a way. The way it hits me is practitioners, we're the toolbox, but the magical part is that the people immediately take away what they need to help themselves, which is very unlike all the counseling. You feel dependent upon seeing that next person. And I think there's an upsurge in online counseling because they're very immediately available versus the box store of counseling where, you know, when it's open hours, that sort of thing. And I think that's a big, I just happen to be, my degree is psychology, so boom, yay. But the fact that in a very short session, we spent a day, and in hours, I have tools that help me not have pain while I'm sleeping. You know, I always have pain when I go to sleep. No, I can make that go away. I'm not in any danger. I don't need my pain to help me ward something off in that situation. And as somebody who's had chronic pain, wow. And that wasn't even what I worked on in the session. So that is the exciting thing to me, is that you are really a tool. And then people just get to walk away with this toolbox. And if they need, you know, I still feel like I want more. I need, you know, that's why we're meeting in a small group, that sort of thing. But it doesn't keep me from helping myself. I'm more like you. It's like, oh, when something hits me in the face, oh yeah, here we go. Yeah. Or I know there's a situation that, oh, sometimes I have a history of approaching in a certain way. Have a little pep talk on my way there, and then I go into it with that altered mindset in a positive way. So anyway, I'll just stop talking. I'm listening.
One thing I find about this is it gives the clients ownership of their, if we call it the condition they come to help to us for fixing, but we give them the ownership of that, and then we give them the skill set to believe that the change is coming from within them. They're not relying on a third person to change them. And that's the magic about this thing, I believe, because if I'm asking Loss to change me all the time, then I'm relying on somebody else. But as soon as I know that it's me that's changing my condition, then I can change anything. And I think that's the magic thing about control. It gives the client or the participant or whatever you want to call them ownership of that problem or condition.
I totally agree with that. And this is why we see spontaneous changes in secondary things or other things that were unrelated to what we've just worked on, because a bit of us suddenly realizes we did this. You know, it was us holding us back, and now it's us moving us forward. And as a result, there's parts of your mind, you know, we talk about the captain and the crew of the ship a lot, don't we? And once your crew realize they actually can change their roles, and a lot of them that they're doing are now not required, suddenly we're freed up of all these extra resources we didn't know we had, because bits of us now are not doing that stuff that was turning out to be unnecessary. And anything that we've got a bit of our mind doing that's unnecessary is the bit holding us back. As a result of that, it becomes the counterproductive thing. It becomes the burden rather than the thing that carries us on, you know. So I think, it's a really good, it's important, I think, that when we do anything therapeutic or anything that's kind of life-changing for people, that they understand it's them that's doing it. But I think that the knowledge of that comes from the knowledge that it was you that was holding you back as well. It was you that was creating in some way this stuckness. And as a result, it's you that can free you up. I think we have this issue in the hypnotherapeutic world where, yes, we want to empower the client. That's the whole purpose of it. And yet in hypnotherapy, it's like, okay, close your eyes, go to sleep. When you wake up, everything will be fixed. And that's not empowering to the client. That's somebody doing it for them rather than them doing it themselves. So all we're really doing here is getting all the magic of the way hypnotic interventions can work when we deal directly with the subconscious, but giving that power to the person involved rather than saying, and we are the magician that's doing it. Yeah, it makes the client the person that wields that power, which is what it should be.
And I love that it's long lasting. It's not just a one day or this will help me tomorrow. Two of my clients that went to the workshop, two of my training clients, it's been a month since we did the workshops, and they every time they come see me, they said, this is still part of me. It's still working. And I can see changes in them, and the confidence changes in them, which is big.
Absolutely. I think and that's what a change should be. You know, we see changes in certain modalities where they don't last, because your mind can pretend to do something. It can act out something for us. It's like a kid when it's being naughty and mum says, okay, stop doing that. All the time mum's watching, the kid can stop doing it. But if the kid still wants to do the thing that was naughty, as soon as mum's turned away, the kid will go back to doing the naughty thing. We get the change by teaching. We get the change by teaching that child to want to do the good thing, to realize the good thing is the best thing for them. Then they won't go back to the other thing, because they're not going to go to a worse strategy for happiness than the one they've got. It's like when we thought the earth was flat, and sailors that sailed into uncharted waters would have a fear of falling off the edge of the earth, you know, and now we know, most people know, the earth is round. So we know if we keep going, we end up back where we started. It's not like that fear is going to grow back. All the time we know that the earth is round, and that's the purpose of it. It's knowledge. It's not just okay, I'm gonna give you this medicine that hopefully won't wear off at some point. It's knowledge of the better strategy, and when your mind's got that, that's all you need. That's all you need. You know.
Awesome.
Well, and Laura did a great job at the workshop of talking about that oftentimes it's something that happened when you were a kid. You've got this crew member who's helping, you know, protecting you or whatever you want to call it, helping you guide that decision now as an adult, but it was a child. And you say it much better, Laura, but it makes perfect sense. It's like, why am I allowing that experience at that point in time to control what I've got going on now? And it's super easy to make that modification.
Oh, yeah.
So it's exciting.
Awesome.
Dave, the security guard.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talk about Dave. Yeah, they love Dave.
Dave.
Tim, would it be useful to just go over the course and kind of how we've adapted it for these guys?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So that we know,
Okay, yeah,
that'd be useful for you guys to know that in a little bit more depth.
okay. Let me break this down for you then, so that you know what to expect from the 6 days that we're gonna train. 6 days plus, isn't it actually? The first weekend, if we're going to call it that, it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, isn't it? The idea is that's the core skills weekend. That's where we learn. That's kind of the, you know, wax on, wax off bit, the Karate Kid thing, where you learn the moves, yeah. And then the second weekend is where we apply the moves in situ, in client work, okay? So the first day is very much, right, let's really hammer home the 7 steps of the system. Let's go through, very similar to the workshop structure you did the first day that you did with Laura and Barry, but really focus this time. We get a chance to look at it from a slightly different perspective, because whereas we do the workshop initially, it's just for our own changes, just for us trying to master the system. Here we also get a chance to kind of commentate on it from outside in terms of how we might be applying this to other people. We get that first opportunity to start to think like a practitioner rather than just like somebody that wants to change something. Okay, so it's like in-depth version of the workshop. The second day we shift on to what I want you guys to be good at, which is hypnosis. So if you haven't done has anyone done any hypnosis before in terms of any hypnosis training?
No.
Okay, well, you're going to do hypnosis training with me, and you're going to get the way I like hypnosis to be done, and we're going to do a day of quite intensive work using trance work. Yeah, and then the reason we do this is because whilst control doesn't involve trance, whenever you work with somebody, when there's any sort of hypnotic framework to it, if that's the framework you're working with, there's always a chance they've experienced it before and their mind goes to a place that involves trance because that's where they think they should be going. Yeah, I want you guys to be really, really well schooled in all of this stuff, so that when you're doing control and it's all eyes open, wide awake, you're so vastly within your comfort zone that you're not having to manage any state. Yeah, it's kind of coming second nature to you. And if somebody goes a little bit, what we might say, deeper in, you can manage that because you've seen it loads of times before and you're skilled in that area. And what we're going to do as well, because normally then we send the trainees away for a month and we get them to do, like, as best they can, a few hours of hypnosis practice on friends and family, just get comfortable doing the process. We're going to kind of do that in the training. So we're going to do a second day where we get to unpack it in a little bit more depth as well. And so by the end of those, day 2 and day 3, you guys are going to be really, really well learned hypnotists, and you're going to have been practicing with each other and you're going to be bang on that game. Okay, so we're going to make sure that by the time we finish that first weekend, your core skills are right there. Okay, then in the middle of that week time in the break there, we're going to have a kind of open house day where if you want to come back and practice anything or talk to me personally one-to-one about any aspect of it that you're still unsure of, or even just to go over some stuff, we'll make ourselves available so that well, I can do that for you. Yeah. Having said that, we never teach big groups. It's never above, the numbers of about between 6 and 12 people. So you'll get your personal attention on the course days. But we just wanted to, it was Laura's idea, I think, and I think it's a really good one, that because we're doing it so intensively, it'd be good for you to be able to go away, have a think, and then come back a couple of days later if you need to, or even if we do an online call, depending on where everyone is located around that time. Just something where we can answer questions and do a bit of troubleshooting between the 2 weekends. Yeah? Then the second weekend, the final 3 days, is completely about working with clients. And what I'm going to do there, we're going to, what do? We kind of break it down, don't we, step by step. I'm looking for Laura and Barry to nod at me here. In terms of how we work with clients, you're going to go through the entire consultation plus 3-session program structure that I've outlined for control. And I'm going to teach you how to do that from moment of inquiry to moment of receiving testimonial. Okay, all the way through that. If we're talking days 4, 5, and 6, because second weekend, day 4 will very much be learning that consultation process, how that works. We will go into the consultation in depth, because the consultation isn't just about finding out if you can work with a client. There's a lot of stuff we do in terms of getting somebody who's interested in making a change, getting a lot of the, you know, that create space, create time, create focus phase of the control system. That's what the consultation is for us to do that in a very big way, so that when they come back for their session 1 to make actual changes, it's a very simple process for you guys, because you've prepped their subconscious correctly. Okay. The 5th day is going to be session 1 in depth, how we do a control session for another client. And then the 6th day is this thing that we haven't really had the chance to do before, but we do very much post-course normally, which is breaking down individual protocols in terms of dealing with certain issues, how we might break it down, and things we might add or things we might adapt to suit certain things, and also going into case study work in a little bit more detail. I want you guys to not have any surprises waiting for you when you start to do your client work. It's important for me, by the time you finish this training, you are comfortable working with clients. There's no point in me giving you a certificate unless you can wield that certificate with confidence in terms of who you are and what you do and how you can help people. So that 6th day, it's a real luxury, but I think it's something that we may well be introducing into the core training in this country as well, because the more I think about this extra day, the more important I think it probably is. We get the opportunity in this country to do lots of forums and lots of events where guys come to the clubhouse here, and we do extra trainings for them, just to, what would you say, flesh out the knowledge so that there's no gaps in your understanding. We're going to do a lot of that on that last day, in terms of filling in any blanks that we've got. Okay. Then from that moment on, you go away and you get 5 case studies done, which the crux of it is 5 people that want to change something, take them through the consultant 3-session process, get their change, write them up. And I'm really not looking for a thesis here. I'm literally looking for you recording your notes in a way that would tell another control practitioner what's happening in those sessions, the important things they would need to know. Yeah. And I deliberately don't give you a template for this as well, because I want you to get used to writing up your notes so that you're keeping track the way you want to keep track. There's no point in me writing them up in detail if you're not going to write up notes in detail in the future. There's no point in me teaching you how to shorthand it the way I would shorthand it if it doesn't resonate with you. How you take your notes and how you record where you are in the work you're doing with your client is going to be down to you. All I need to be able to look at is see them notes, and as a control practitioner, understand what you did in those sessions and why you did them. Okay? When you've written up 5 case studies, you buzz them over to me. I'll have a look at them, and we do a final, normally on average about 2-hour call. So it could be like online, obviously it's going to be, because we're going to be in different countries. We do a 2-hour call where we review those case studies. We talk through them. Barry's done this, Laura's done this. We go through what we learn, what we still need to learn, if anything. We share ideas about them. We knock it backwards and forwards a bit. And then hopefully at some point in that meeting, we look at each other and we say, you know what? I know this stuff now. I say, I think you're a control practitioner. You say, you know what? I think I am. And then we give you a certificate, and that you're part of the team. Okay. And that's the process, really. I think that's as best I can break it down for you guys.
And then post all of that, it's not just about, well, there's your certificate, do one. It's like you now in the control family. So there's the group page where everybody asks each other for help, or, oh, I've had this, or they'll give an experience. And I find that's really helpful as well, not just to hear it from Tim, but to hear it from other practitioners who are doing it. And then you've got the forums, which you can attend. Like Tim will do a forum, like 1 month it will be on emotional eating, 1 month it'll be on sleep, pain, and then you can kind of pitch in on those, which I think will I think you do some online anyway as well, don't you, Tim?
We're just starting because we trained in Belgium last month. We've got a group in Belgium now, and we've got people in various parts of the country. We're now doing every month an online forum. You guys, I think what we said we were going to do as well is give one, like a couple, is it 3 we're going to do monthly, where it's just for you guys. So you're working with your group. But what will happen on these forums, these online ones, you'll be online with people around the world. Again, it's still small numbers, it's like these sort of numbers that we do it. We have half of the forum is based around, you do that supervision thing. When you're doing anything, any kind of change or people, anything you might call remedial or therapeutic, it's important to have your supervision to make sure that you can share ideas, check that you're on track, check that there's any thoughts up here that need to be vented. And we do that in terms of, we go around the group and we all share with each other. Then the second half of the forum is all about that specialist topic that we're covering that month, be it anxiety, depression, like you say, pain, weight control, whatever it is we're working on at the time. And then, so we kind of pack out our knowledge as we go through as well. So Laura's very, very right. But the one thing I wanted to provide with my practitioners is as much ongoing support as you could possibly want. There's never going to be a time when I'll say, no, that's more than I'm prepared to give you. Because if you're part of the team, you are part of the family. And we want to make sure that all of our control practitioners, have the aftercare that they're looking for. Don't get me wrong, there is that option. If you've already got, so Regina, you were saying you have psychotherapeutic background. I don't know if you're working within that field or not, which I'm going to hopefully find out more about you when we actually get to spend some time together. But if you've got supervision from another discipline, so we have other hypnotherapists who have supervision with their governing body. We have psychotherapists who have supervision with their governing body. I understand it's just important you have some, but we do provide it if you're, like Laura and Barry, this is their only therapeutic discipline in terms of mindset stuff. So we provide it here. I do it for the people that don't have it. And to be fair, the team we're building seems to be kind of split almost down the middle. People that have done therapy before, people that haven't. And I think actually the bias is moving more onto the people that haven't, because people like you guys are realizing, hey, hang on, this is something I can add to my toolkit, add to what I offer people without having to say, right, now I'm doing 5 years studying of psychotherapy, because, and don't get me wrong, if I thought that was the only way or the best way of doing it, that's what I'd be doing, but I don't. I think it's in the stuff that we give you is the good stuff. I really do. I think, it reflects my journey in terms of my understanding about how the mind works, working with clients one-to-one for years. And I know that as long as you get your supervision and you keep up to date with your method, your system, and keep in touch with the people that are supporting you, you're going to have a very good time, a very successful career within this.
Thank you.
Yes, it's awesome. Pretty exciting, you guys.
I'm excited. To do, this is the first US group, and I can't thank you guys enough for making it happen and being part of it, because it takes it to places where I wasn't even sure we would go. It wasn't. I've always just run the trainings, and anyone that's interested, come and train in this. And the fact that the interest is spreading, around the world now. It's got me thinking maybe I'm onto something, I don't know.
I think so. Oh my gosh. Melissa, do you have any questions or anything?
I don't. I'm kind of getting over a sore throat, so.
Well, you sure are. You sound kind of sexy though.
I feel fine. I just don't sound great. But I did the bridge this morning, and Larry and Barry know what I'm talking about. The bridge at the reservoir.
Yeah.
I was up there thinking, I don't. People are gonna see this and think, what's the big deal? It's not very high. I'm like, that's the complete opposite of my thinking. When they were here and we drove over it, and I was white knuckling it and come up over the edge. So that was pretty cool.
Excellent.
That's amazing.
Way to go.
Love it.
Awesome. And Melissa, we've got our strategy call, haven't we, next week?
Yeah, I think on Halloween.
Yeah, it is literally on Halloween.
Yeah.
Mind you, by next week, Halloween is over by a long way for me. As soon as I've packed down all of the zombie stuff, that's it now. But yeah, But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to that, and I really, you know, I'm just looking forward to getting to know everyone, because it's really important for me that I do know my practitioners well. Even though you're going to be around the other side of the world from me, I want, you know, when somebody says I met one of your practitioners, you know, I know they're going to have been trained by me. I know I'm going to know them personally, and that's important to me. I'm sure at some point in the future, other people will train practitioners, but it's a long way in the future, because I want to be the person that trains all of the practitioners. I want to get to know you guys well, so that I know when somebody talks about one of my practitioners, I know them. I can have a conversation with them about them, and I know that you're awesome and you're out there doing amazing stuff, you know? So, yeah.
Well, we can't thank you guys enough. It's just so exciting to have, I, like Regina, you know, my education is psychology as well. And it's not anything I've actually done practice with, because I've always been a full-time musician and a trainer. So but it's something you use every day. It's something you use every day. And so this is just so, this is pretty enlightening.
That's cool. That's cool. And I don't want to sound I'm knocking psychotherapists and psychologists and that sort of thing, because it's all the same. We're all doing the same thing, aren't we? We're all doing the same work. We're talking the same language. Mm-hmm. It's just, for me, I'm that guy that always wants to, for a start, I always analyze what I'm being told. And that's where I come. I've always, like, people would give me something. And I remember I used to slow down my maths class incredibly a lot, because they would he'd give me an equation and say, right, now you solve these 10 sums with that equation. And I'd be like, well, hang on, why have we got this equation? Who came up with this then? Who decided this solves this you know, these sums? And it was like, and that's where I am. And that's why what I'm doing here, when I started to work one-to-one, I unpacked it a bit. So I'm that person that is going to unpack it and analyze it, and that's why you've got it in a slightly different format to what we might have had in terms of what you might have done psychology wise and stuff like that. But I'm also the person that's trying to simplify it, because I can't handle complexity in terms of running every day on what I'm doing. And I've had a lot of conversations with people about what they're doing, and you know, some of the complexities that we're asked to manage on the go, as in just part of our working out process when it comes to dealing with people's mental health and their emotional health. It seems unnecessarily complex, yeah? And so breaking it down to simplest forms is, I believe, how we get the best results. I know if I'm like not getting the results I'm looking for, I know what I've done. I've overcomplicated it. I can always trace it back to me getting a bit too into the minutiae of it, getting into the overly detailed stuff, rather than keeping it to simple principles. I always think if we keep it simple, we get the best results every time. And that's certainly the way I'm going to teach you guys, is to break it down to its simplest forms and not get too involved in the complexities. Because, you know, 9.5 times out of 10, complexity gives us more trouble than it's solved, more problems than it solves, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I think the thing that's brilliant about it, excuse me, is clearly psychotherapy, all these things have been around for a long time, and that's fantastic, and mental health is a definite thing. However, as people are now being more open about their issues, we aren't serving them, you know, and we also have, you know, I have 2 20-somethings, and they're all about, you know, it's got to be quick. You either binge watch on your Netflix, you know what I mean? It's just a different mentality of, I want something fixed fast. And the fact that they can do it themselves with this toolbox, you know, and we're there, and you have the connection with people, but then they have the connection with themselves. I just really, I mean, I hope it moves like wildfire, because there's so many, I work with people every day, the public every day, and there are so many people dealing with anxiety, and it's this big blanket, but it can be, you know, you just keep taking those 1 and 2 things off of there, and we all know how actually simple it is. It's mind-blowingly easy. But that's the exciting part, is that they can help themselves, and we can help them, teach them how they can do that in a very quick period of time, and they're often feeling better, and that's the goal.
I think this is, I mean, you touched on something there. I'd love for control to be taught in schools. you know, so that we understand our emotional responses right from an early age, because we get taught all sorts of brilliant things at school. We don't really get told how to manage our emotions, and that seems to be the thing that comes up first in terms of what we need. And right. You know, as much as I've no interest in working with children and no ambition to work with children, I've got practitioners who that's their main focus, is getting this out to kids, because that's where they see it being needed. And I think I would love for something like what we're doing here, like you say, to be considered a mainstay of our education, understanding our emotional health. And this is really, I find myself talking about emotional health much more than mental health these days, because I think that's the core of the issue. That's the crux of it, understanding our emotions and what they're there for. Is never irrational or invalid. There's always a reason for why we feel a certain way. If we can understand that reason and even talk to the bit that's creating that response, we can get a better response. And if we understood this at a very early age, we wouldn't be in the state that we seem to end up in you know, later life, when we actually get out in the big bad world. And I think a lot of the issue comes from the way the world is shrinking in terms of our communication, connecting everyone with a moment's notice, like we are now, which is great. But for kids, you know, in terms of their emotional well-being, dealing with an online world now, they've got no respite from their worries, their fears, their anxieties, and any negativity they come into touch with. So, you know, this is needed as an education, without a shadow of a doubt.
Oh, I love this idea of working with kids.
I'll let you do that, Senna, because I ain't working with kids. But yeah, I'll let you.
Did Janice or Neva have any questions that they wanted to fire?
I asked Janice if she had any questions, and she said no, she wants to wait to watch the recording. And Neva, I didn't hear back from, except that she probably needs to be with her sister today, which I totally understand. But once they see the recording, I bet they'll have questions. You know, it's they didn't know what to ask. You know what I mean? And so now once they view this, they'll know what to ask, right?
I'm very happy to schedule another one of these if you want to. I mean, this is the thing. I'm very invested in getting this off the ground, because it represents a really big step for the control system and us as a team and as a family, getting this out there. So and also it's never a waste of time to answer people's questions about the system, because you know it's what I love talking about anyway. So yeah, if they've got any questions and they want us to jump online again, I'm very happy to schedule something in so that we do that. I want to make sure that in the run up to this, you know, you're as supported as you're going to be after it as well. You know, as far as I'm concerned, once you've signed up to do a training, that's it, you're in the team. I mean, and that's the other thing that's worth mentioning is I'm sort of making, put it this way, Laura and Barry have met all of you, and they've said to me, yes, we can train all of these in the time we've given ourselves. Now, obviously, if it turns out we don't manage to give you the skills, then that's completely their fault.
Not pointing fingers or anything.
So the thing I need, let me clarify that. The thing I need to mention is that when we finish that last weekend, and I say, right, 5 case studies time, you get 6 months for that. Okay. Now, if you don't finish, I mean, 6 months is ample, yeah, because we're going to prep you to be, you know, absolutely hitting the ground running with this. But in the event you don't finish those case studies in 6 months, I would need you to repeat at least the second part of the training again, so that I know your skill set is up to date. There's no point in you coming back a year later, having done 5 case studies over that time, and probably losing touch with the whole thought process system, yeah? But if you do have to repeat any part of the training, that's on us as a team. We said we could train you in the time given, and you will get all of that without any further charge at all. Once you've paid up to become a control practitioner, that's what you get, is you get what it takes to make you a control practitioner. So if we get it done first time, that's exactly how it should work, and I'm sure we will. But in the unlikely event we didn't, any repeating of stuff is on us, and we cover that, and we need to make sure that we get you through the whole way. So, you know, if for anyone that's considering this, I suppose, because this is the bit it's going out to, it's not a course that you just pass by attending. but it is a course that we will make sure you get done if you want to get it done. Yeah.
And I love the continuing education and follow-ups. I love it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Got to keep up to date with all your knowledge. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we live in a college town where people just take courses for the fun of it, for continuing.
Exactly.
I don't know why people wouldn't just be like, I'm in. I'm in. It's
seriously.
just the thing to learn and
Well,
have fun.
I think the number of people we've had do this as a like, oh, that would be a nice thing to add to what I do. That would be a nice little add-on. And then before you know it, they're like, this is the one I'm doing. You know, this is what I want to focus everything on now. Because not because it's, I'm not saying it's like, oh, this is the miracle we've been waiting for, but it's just really enjoyable as a day-to-day profession to change people's lives and do it in a way that is, you know, bordering on fun as well. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not heavy therapy. It's not, oh my God, this is going to traumatize me now. I've got my therapy session. It is radical, magical stuff that every day fuels me and keeps me going. It doesn't, you know, seeing clients with me doesn't feel like work. It feels like meeting people and showing them something wonderful about themselves, which I'll do that every day, you know, until I die. I'm never going to get tired of that. So, you know, this is why I work this way, because it keeps me excited about the work I do. That's why I changed the way I was doing it from the old hypnotherapy approach, because I was becoming tired. I was becoming burnt out and drained by the length of the process. Yeah. To do it this way, it's just, you know, it keeps me going. I haven't got tired of it yet, so I don't think I probably will. Yeah.
Wonderful. Mike, have you got any questions? Because you've been really quiet.
That's good. He has to stay muted because of our echo, but I'm going to mute myself so you can talk.
Need to unmute yourself, Mike.
I can't hear Mike.
Mike, turn on your mic.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, see, now we're echoing. Or now
there we go.
Right. I don't have any questions as of right now. It's pretty self-explanatory. All the stuff that Tim said, and you know, pretty much answered a few of the, you know, questions I had that I was thinking about. So
that's good. I'm glad.
I'll mute you back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shannon,
now I can see you're behind. You're like there.
Let's say that. Yeah, see, he's right. He's behind me. So I don't know why we echo. I haven't figured that out, but we do.
Yeah, it's like a feedback loop, isn't it? Once you're,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Shannon, is there any way of getting like local PR, like a local radio station on board, just to put the word out about what's going to happen and see if anyone else wants to join in with the course? Or
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Now that we have this recording, I'm going to stop the recording right now so we can just talk about that.